Hey everybody, it's X, and Lorwyn Eclipsed is officially out on Arena, so it is time to get into my first actual ranked draft of the new set. Very excited for this. And without further ado, let's just hop right into the pack one, pick one. We've got a great rare here with Sig, Wanderwine, Wisdom, 1 and a blue for an unblockable 2/2. When it enters or transforms, you can have one of your creatures draw you a card when it deals combat damage to a player this turn, and then you can keep flipping it back and forth for 1 white mana. Then on the other side, it gives protection, and then when it flips back to this side, it will give another card draw. I guess you flip it for blue when it's on the white side, flip it for white when it's on the blue side, but a great reason to try to start Merfolk. The only flaw I see with that is, of course, somebody on our left is also going to be in Merfolk, but if players on our right are not, we can still get past the good stuff we need in pack 1 and pack 3, even if we shove somebody to our left into the same deck as us. Pick number 2, we've got a Protective Response here. This is a great removal spell that goes in the same colors as Sig. We also have an Ashling's Command, which is a very strong rare. I like all of the commands. Being able to duplicate one of your creatures and do something else is great. This is like a 3-for-1 at minimum. Make a copy of your best creature and draw a couple cards. So we could take that and still stay open to elementals or merfolk here. I think that'd be pretty reasonable. So I see both of these as being super reasonable picks out of the pack. We can just take the strongest card, period, not be glued to our first pick, or we can take a card that's a tiny bit weaker, but still an excellent removal spell that fits into a good variety of decks. Literally any white decks can be fine with response. I think I'm just going to keep taking really strong cards and see where we get past the most stuff as the draft progresses. Pick 3, we do see some merfolk here. We've got the Encumbered Reejerey, 2 mana for a 5/4, comes with 3 -1/-1 counter, so it starts as a 2/1 essentially, but every time it becomes tapped, it removes a counter from it. So it's a 2 mana creature that eventually builds up to being a 5/4, which is great. Pestered Wellguard has a really good ability for when it becomes tapped, but a really bad body for attacking. 2 toughness on a 4 mana card is rough, so this is one of those cards you really want alternative ways to tap it. The ways to do that are cards like the Marrow Sky Swimmer that can convoke itself into play. You tap your creatures to cast this, or even some of the creatures in the set have ways to, like, whenever it attacks, you can tap another creature to give it unblockable, or there's like a Springleaf Drum that you can tap to get a mana of any color. When you tap another creature you control, there are other ways than just convoke and tap stuff. So I think there's potential combos with that other card, but the Reejerey is just such a good stat line for the cost. I think it's just a good beefy card in any white deck for only 2 mana. Pick number 4. We've got a Tweeze here for red removal towards that elementals thing. There's also the Rhyme Speaker towards elementals. Towards merfolk, we have the instant speed convoke card of Unexpected Assistance, which can help our cards like Encumbered Reejerey that wants to be tapped many times, and a big tree folk we can convoke out as well, which does the same. So convoke synergies or elementally Rhyme Speaker or Tweeze. I'm going to grab the convoke synergies now, being 2 cards deep into merfolk. Plus, an Unexpected Assistance is a good enough card that will still absolutely play it if we end up in blue-red elementals. So it's also a bit more flexible than hopping onto like another elemental there. Pick 5, Spiral into Solitude. It's a perfectly fine removal spell. There are ways for your opponent to get value out of their creature, even if it can't attack or block, like if it has good activated abilities or anything like that. So you will want to be blighting and exiling whatever you're enchanting, but that's still kind of like a 4 mana sorcery to exile a creature if you put a -1/-1 counter on your board. And we already have at least one creature that can remove counters from itself and help out with blighting. Pick number 6 now. Reasonable filler merfolk, a shore lurker here. It's also a very good draw spell though. Thirst for Identity. Draw 3, discard 1 creature at instant speed. It's a pretty great card draw if we ditch a creature. I'll take Thirst for Identity. Pick number 7. Runaway Together's reasonable tempo interaction. The Springleaf Drum is kind of that merfolk combo card where we can tap cards like Reejerey even if we don't attack with them, to keeping their abilities going. This isn't a card I'd really want to run unless I end up with a whole lot of abilities that want our creatures to become tapped, but I think it's worth a speculation here. Pick 8, we have some solid fixing, or we have the big celebrant to top off our curve with that we can convoke out with some tap merfolk. I'll take the celebrant here. Oh. In no world, in like none of my lines of thought were what happens if we take the merfolk rare and wheel the merfolk lord. It was, is this rare good enough to be fighting somebody on our leftover merfolk? And because we get passed from our right for pack 1 and pack 3, I was like, yeah, this rare is good enough. Sure, I'll just get 2 packs of merfolk cards. That'll be good enough. Meanwhile, the entire draft pod saw the merfolk lord uncommon and nobody took it. So we have a very clear, very simple way to go here. Just draft some merfolk. If we draft some changeling here as well, we could splash in the Ashling's Command off of Springleaf Drum and some other cards. We don't even need a changeling on the board, technically. You don't have to copy an elemental you control. That's just usually the strongest part of the ability, is getting a second copy of one of your creatures. But we'll keep in mind that we have that. It's possible it ends up getting splashed in based on how the rest of this draft goes. We'll see. But I'm so happy to see that Deep Channel Duelist come around. This is going to be a simple, simple draft. Okay, pack 2, pick 1. Well, we don't see any merfolk in this pack. We see some reasonable 2-mana creatures on color like Deep Burden Stoneback that keeps removing counters from itself. So this is going to be really big for the cost and get some indestructible swings in. There's also the Summit Sentinel, which is a good deal for its cost, being able to chump and draw a card later in the game. But there's a second red rare that's very strong. So this would give us 2 reasons to be splashing into red should we find the fixing for it. So I think we want to take Bree here and then take cards like Evolving Wilds very highly at this point, because we now have just 2 really strong rares in the same color. Pick number 2, no merfolk here. We do see the Moonlit Lamenter, which is a great card to blight onto with cards like Spiral into Solitude, because you get an extra card off of it. It's an okay blocker early. There is also the instant speed, Unexpected Assistance. We can convoke, get some tap abilities going. Draw 3, discard 1 also does get better when you have really specific, powerful rares to dig towards, as well as getting better when you have more colors, because this lets you see more of your deck and get more opportunities to draw into a splash color. Probably just go Unexpected Assistance here, actually. Pick number 3, there's the Pestered Wellguard playing well with the Springleaf Drum and all of our Convoke, the Assistance and the Celebrant. Like maybe trying that out here, but there's also a couple removal spells, Spiral into Solitude and Blossom Bind. There's the red fixing with the Changeling Wayfinder. There are 4 very reasonable options in this pack. You know, with how open Merfolk is, getting past the Lord pick 9, it's probably better to just grab removal really highly, where any deck is going to want to scoop up the removal cards, and just get past the Merfolk later, like Eclipsed Marrow here. So I'll grab that, although there's Wayfinder and Evolving Wilds, but this is just such a good card for a blue-white deck. I don't think I can pass this up for a piece of reasonable fixing. Second Deep Channel Duelist now, pick 5. Pick number 6, there's a second Springleaf Drum, which is interesting, or a filler Merfolk, the Silvergill Peddler. Again, we probably get the filler Merfolk pretty late. If we get that Springleaf Drum in here, it's dual purpose now. If we get past a bunch of the Merfolk that care about tapping, the Springleaf Drums trigger all of those, and they get the red splash in. So Springleaf Drum might actually be really good in this deck. This might be the best Springleaf Drum deck I end up drafting in the format, and it's my very first draft on my, my very first ranked draft. I guess technically the early access event is still on our personal accounts at this point. Whenever this attacks, you may tap another Merfolk to it. So you can't Springleaf Drum to use this ability, but it still feels pretty good. Flamekin's reasonable here too. Double blue and 1, and it digs in the top 4 for a mountain, I guess. But that card could miss quite a bit, because obviously if the mountain's not there, maybe we don't have islands either. We just see a few plains in a Merfolk or something, and we draw nothing off of playing it, which is pretty bad. Off-color land cycling doesn't help the splash. Off-color removal, we're probably going to get enough to not need it. I'll grab this big Merfolk sorcery. It's got Convoke, but 7 mana, even with Convoke, is still a lot, but it could see play. We'll see. Stalactite Dagger, I guess. I like these combat tricks in Merfolk decks because, again, so many tap abilities. There's a lot of creatures that are going to want to aggressively attack into boards where they're just going to trade off. So being able to save them from trading off with some kind of combat trick is going to be good. Pack 3, pick 1. This does not care about specifically Kithkin, right? Yeah, it's a 2-mana 2/2 first strike lifelink. Whenever it attacks, you may put a creature mana value X or less from your hand onto the battlefield, tapped and attack, where X is the number of attacking creatures you control. It doesn't care about creature types. We can play it in a Merfolk deck, but Rhymekin Recluse also doesn't care about creature types, and it's an excellent tempo play. 3-mana 3/2 bounce anybody. I think our 2-mana creatures are better than our 3-mana creatures right now by a good chunk on average. Yeah, we got a random elemental here, so it's only 2 of them. I kind of want to take the 3-drop over the 2. I'm going to grab Recluse over the Sentry. They're both S-tier cards. They are both really, really strong. Like, the Recluse is genuinely as strong as that rare, in my opinion, for the stat line, the tempo you're getting. Silvergale Mentor is going to be nuts in here. 2-mana, 2/1, and a 1/1. Yep. Toss that in here. Hollowed Fountain's pretty sweet. Get a blue-white dual land. I feel like we've got enough playables to spend a pick on a duel like that. Because what would we be taking otherwise? A second Celebrant, a Reflexes, a Sneakling, or a Gift? They're all fine cards, but fixing is just guaranteed getting run in the deck. Pick number 4, another Spiral into Solitude. Splash in red removal with Feed the Flames. Crib Swap is a bad removal spell. Giving them back basically anything off of casting removal is not what you want to do. But especially a Changeling in this set with the amount of ways you could have to buff up creatures of certain types. Another Thirst for Identity. I don't know if it ends up making the cut. Only got 1 4-drop right now. We could toss a Shore Lurker in here, I suppose. I don't really want to double up on 7-mana sorceries like that. Yeah, we'll grab a Shore Lurker. I've also already got 2 of the combat tricks. So yeah, there's that. Changeling Wayfinder is a 3-mana Merfolk that grabs our red mana. Sure. Again, the Flamekin theoretically good. It will find a mountain if it's in our top 4. But there's going to be almost no elementals for it to draw into. This could very well miss sometimes. And it's a really bad rate when it does miss. Pick number 8. There's nothing here for us. I'll rare draft. Although I guess this is a typo kind of card. Name Merfolk on this. We don't have like 100% Merfolk or anything, so it's probably still just okay. Plus, we're trying to be pretty aggressive. Yeah, take a 2/1 first striking Merfolk over a 2/2 Kithkin. And there we go. This is actually a good Merfolk for this deck, I think. Another creature to trigger every time it becomes tapped. There's another Reflexes. Blight 2 to bring that back. Yeah, I'm just going to take Reflexes. Okay, try out some blue-white Merfolk here. One of the creature types we didn't do at all during the early access stuff. Okay, what if we just use the double red splash as kind of the finishers and drop the Merfolk? Drop this Elemental. Do have a lot of 3-mana stuff now. Drop one of these. The guide or the peddler, I think, are the most filler. I really want to run as many become tapped abilities as possible with my double drum. And I don't really want to splash in the red off of exclusively double drum. So we'll do double drum, a mountain, and a wayfinder minimum. Maybe we just play a lot of threes in here. I mean, because how many creatures is this then at that point? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh. Yeah, we have a lot of non-creature spells right now. So maybe we just run everything that we've currently got in then. Alright, I'm still not feeling the 2 mana 1/3, but I'll run the Tree Folk as well, so we can be at a 15 creature count. Plus Command and Farewell sometimes are a creature. I've only really got a couple changelings, so not too often. I think 4 draw spells, that is all they do, is probably a bit too much. Let's just run the synergy ones, the convoke ones here over the thirsts. Not really feeling the stalactite dagger. I don't have a bunch of removals, so I probably need to run all these spirals if I can. Springleaf Drum costs 1 mana. We do have to have a creature on board to play it, but because it only costs 1, kind of counts as a land. Any hand that has at least 1 land in it will also have a drum on the board, but then it needs a creature too. We can certainly go to 16 lands double drum. I don't know if we can do 15 lands double drum. I guess we've got Marrow and Wayfinder once we get to 3. But the problem with treating these 1-for-1 as lands is that we will have hands that don't have a 2-drop creature on occasion. And then because I'm like a 15 land deck, we'll be slightly more likely to draw, you know, a 2-land hand, 2 lands and Springleaf Drum. Starts at turn 3. Like what happens if we don't hit lands there, we just die. Definitely cutting the mountains though. But maybe putting back another plains or island in here. And I suppose I could help the drums out by running that Summit Sentinel again. Just 1 more 2-mana creature. It's also an elemental for Ashling's command, although I don't know how great copying the 1/3 is. Probably not that impressive. What if we just don't run Ashling's command? What if it's just Bree? I mean, because one of our best elementals to copy are Changeling, Wayfinder, and Feisty Spikeling. This card is much less exciting. This card's like really, really good with expensive elementals, like the common 6 mana 6/5. Instant speed, put a 6/5 out on blocks and deal 2 to all their small creatures. It's like a one-side board wipe so often. But there's a big drop-off without the elemental body on board. 5 mana instant speed, draw 2, 2 damage to all their cards. Still a good card, but maybe not quite worth the splash over just another solid on-color card. I mean, I'm still splashing red for Bree, because Bree's absurd. But we do gotta cut 2 more cards still. So I could see dropping this command. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna drop that command. Drop one of the River Guard's reflexes. And there we have it. That's a deck right there. This is still the 15 land version though. 15 land double drum. I like these combat tricks a lot to help out, in particular Meander's Guide. Far better when you have a River Guard's reflexes in hand. Do I just run 2 Spiral? That doesn't feel right either. And I don't really want to drop down a creature. We're on 15 creatures. I'll risk it a bit. I'm going to rely a lot on these Springleaf Drums, and we'll see how that works out for us. Let's double check our mana base. 14 white cards, 11 blue. That's 1 more white source than blue sources. Looks good to me. We'll call it a deck here, hop into the gameplay, and see how far we get for our first ranked draft of Lorwyn Eclipsed. All right, here we are on the play for game 1. Duelist into Marrow. If we hit a land, that's a definite keep. Opponent takes a mulligan. Opponent takes a couple mulligans. That is some solid luck for us to start off. They had some rough luck with a double mulligan. GG from opponent immediately. Run out the Deep Channel Duelist and see what's up. Springleaf Drum is kind of the third land, but we won't be able to play a 3-drop next turn. Lysolana Informant comes out. They're on green-white. The Kithkin color pair. We did not hit a land, but we've got the Springleaf Drum should the Duelist remain for a turn. But this is part of the problem with running Springleaf Drums over lands, is that if they blow up our Duelist, we have an issue. No blocks. Go to 17. And then Crossroads Watcher, just a 3/3 Kithkin. Drop a 4/4 Merfolk here. Surveil 1. Feels good to me. Holds off their attacks if they don't have some kind of combat trick. Mill an Unexpected Assistance. And untap the Duelist. Great Forest Druid for some fixing for our opponent, which does buff up the Crossroads Watcher to get the 4 damage in, and then another creature to get 5 damage in. Yeah, Kithkin are quite quick, quite scary. We get on to 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana to do what we want with. It's not quite enough to do everything I want to do. I think I'm going to play the Marrow. It's big enough to trade into the Crossroads Watcher and draw us a card. A second Deep Channel Duelist? Yeah. That seems kind of ridiculous here. I mean, all of these are really good options. But I'm going to go with a second Deep Channel Duelist, which I will then have the mana for. Then we untap the Duelist and the Lurker. They have one last card in their hand, which is just a little Kithkin. Looks like we're in an incredible position then. They've got the mana to +1/+1 their whole board, so we'll just trade Marrow into the Watcher, because we are down to 12 life. It is risky to just keep taking this, and they've got plenty of Trumpers on the ground, so I'm not too worried about cracking back there. We'll just hit them with Shore Lurker 3 times to find the win. So we can go... Can I play Wayfinder and Celebrant? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, I can. And then untap the Shore Lurker and Duelist. Oh, I've already played land for turn. I guess I can't, but I can play Unexpected Assistance, untap a 5/5 and a 3/4. But I suppose I could just wait and then just do this during their end step and have everybody untapped instead, since it is instant speed. That is a fantastic card. I'm not going to go that crazy here, though, because it's just going to be a trade into the Shore Lurker. Okay. And then we'll just have to beat down on the ground now. Silvergill Mentor. Good stuff. Drop Sig. Get that ready to go. But they have the 3/4 block on the Wayfinder anyway. They can double block, kill a duelist if I send that in. I think we just flunge. Well, flunge. We just dump the hand real quick and set up for swings next turn. Reaping Willow is a very strong card. Reanimate Informant here. And have a big lifelinker. Or the Watcher. Yeah, I can do 3 mana value cards. There's Spiral into Solitude. Still can't be blocked on the other side. Target creature gains protection from each color till your next turn. So I can hit for 9. But because of lifelink, if I send all these in, they just gain the 3 back that they're going to take and block everybody else. So I'm just going to hit for 9. I'm dumb. I could have just spiraled the Reaping Willow. We're getting into the new set. I'll get there eventually. If we spiraled the Reaping Willow to make sure they don't have any lifelink, then I just flunge everybody in and it's lethal. But obviously without casting removal, we didn't have lethal there. But now we just have unblockable lethal. This turn just takes a turn longer. There's the concession from our opponent. Very lucky start. We had an incredible hand and our opponent had to mulligan twice. So some very, very good luck to get in there, which is good because I'm a bit rusty. I haven't played since the early access event, so it has been a week of no magic. Let's get back into the game, get our head in there, and not miss lethal as we head into our future games. Here we are on the play for game number 2. Now it is us who will be mulliganing. Keep the 6-card hand. Ditch the 7 mana card, even if it has Convoke, that's still going to be a long time away. Love the Reejerey with the reflexes to make sure it can attack in and remove those counters turn over turn. The Recluse will help it to attack in turn over turn as well, and that is a terrifying start from our opponent. They drop the Kinsbale Aspirant, which gets +1/+1 every time a creature enters their board, so kind of a 1 mana 3/2. Most of the time, sometimes even a 4/3 for 1 mana. And we know they've got the Mutable Explorer ramping them up on turn 3 and providing them with yet another creature. And sure enough, 1 mana 4/3 trample, essentially. We've got the Rhymekin Recluse to slow them down here. Whenever this or another Kithkin enters, the creature gets +1/+1 trample until end of turn. So they'll redo their enter effects. But, we will get it out of the way and then have the creature to trade into the 2/1. I think this is worth it. Have them spend a turn recasting that, and we trade off into Aspirant with Recluse. And they're going to go Mutable Explorer instead to ramp their mana up and have the Mutavault as another creature. Mutable Explorer seems very good. Because it ramps you up and it gives you a 2/2 creature, like whichever is more important to you. But hey, Reejerey's been doing really well for us. It's going to be our 2-mana 5/4 this game. Here's the Eclipsed Marrow, looking for mana probably. Unless we see a very good non-land card like Wayfinder. Wayfinder's interesting. So we can get our red. I mean, if I pick up a land, I just have 2 reflexes anyway. Yeah, we'll take Wayfinder. There's the Thoughtweft Lieutenant. Buff the Mutable Explorer. Really just playing blockers, though, I imagine. Yep. They are just playing blockers. Send in the squad. Take it all. Okay. Try to crack back for 16 here. All right, they're down to 6. So we can Wayfinder and pick up a mountain. Or just play a Paddler, or just play a Mentor. I think we play the Wayfinder because it sets up for Mentor plus reflexes, and it should be really hard for them to 16 us through a Wayfinder. So this sets up the double spell next turn. Grab that mountain. Drop it and pass. So now we can play a Mentor and reflexes on our next turn to send the board in, and if 4 damage gets in, we can reflexes the final 2 for lethal, or if they try to do something like kill the Regery, can save that. And there's the concession from our opponent. Incredible work from the encumbered Regery that game. It indeed played as a 2-mana 5/4 by the end of that game. And one thing that I am quickly noticing here, and I am going to adjust about the deck, is that the only thing that I haven't liked about it really is the splash. We have plenty of card quality within our main 2 colors. I don't think the splash is really necessary for the deck to still be pretty strong, just getting these kind of Merfolk curve outs going. So I think I'm going to drop the splash and just put in like a 16th land here. Because I've never been hurting for quality cards, but I have been hurting for mana potentially. So drop Bree, put in a 16th land. And that might be fine. I could also cut a Springleaf Drum for another creature or something here. And that would be fine with me too. I mean, Riverguard's Reflexes is somewhat similar to Springleaf Drum in that it helps us get those tap triggers with creatures that might not otherwise be able to attack in, like the Regery. So we could go triple combat trick 1 Springleaf Drum here or something. Because we really don't have too many very specific Springleaf Drum combos. It's really like Distractor is the only one that works really well with the Springleaf Drum. Being able to activate that at instant speed can really get somebody. But like doing it with Silver Gill Peddler is just kind of okay. Meander's Guide can't do anything with Springleaf Drum. And then if we defend Encumbered Regery with combat tricks instead, then it'll be doing perfectly fine. Like, yeah, maybe I just shouldn't be doing the Springleaf Drums at all if I'm not doing the red splash anyway. Because again, it's only like the one really good combo regardless, and I've got plenty Convoke cards in here too. Yeah, let's adjust the deck a bit. Let's get a little more aggressive. Drop the Springleaf Drums and just throw in another combat trick and just play all normal lands. '17th land or Thirst for Identity or something. Just go full 17 lands. We got some draw discard stuff going on. All right, those adjustments out of the way, let's hop back in there for game number 3. Here we are on the draw for game number 3. This hand is a little awkward, just the one creature in it. Still gonna keep it. Got both of our colors in great card draw if the game goes long. But our opponent's on the play here, so if they just have one of the Typal decks and get a good curve out, we could die pretty fast if they just go turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, Goblin, 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 or Kithkin, 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 or Elf, 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 anything like that. Could just jam us out of this game real quick. But they at least don't have a 1-drop for whatever deck they are. Nor do they have a 2-drop, so we have time to draw into some stuff. Run out the Deep Channel Duelist, although playing against mono black for now, I don't expect that to live very long. Moon Shadow, the mythic rare 7/7 menace, but it takes some time to become that large. Attack in with our reflexes up. And then drop Meander's Guide. Sneakling's very good here because it will buff the Moon Shadow with the trade. It's a little rough to miss out on playing on the guide, or playing out to the guide, but there's no creatures in the grave for the guide anyway yet. Prideful Feastling, and just mana for us. We drop guide. Tap land and pass. Yikes. Abigail's another fantastic card. Flying, First Strike, and Lifelink to whatever creature they choose. Now they have a Flying, First Strike, Lifelinking 2/3, which will be impossible to race. 3 First Striking blocks, or 3 First Striking power over there. Could double block the Moon Shadow. They only kill one of our 2 cards, but they'd kill the Duelist. But then if I top deck a Merfolk, that'd play fine. I guess not even, because they have the First Strike on blocks here. Yeah, I think we gotta let them just hit us. Thanks to Abigail being fantastic. Do we have any 1-mana cards in this deck? We don't have any 1-mana cards. So like spending 4 and tapping one of these creatures still isn't gonna draw me anything. I guess these are both flying. This has menace and I don't want to lose Duelist, so I'm not blocking anything anyway. So I can hold 2 mana up and Convoke here. That way, if we draw something immediately castable, some kind of creature, we can actually play it, instead of if I try to do that at instant speed. If I try to do it at instant speed and I hit a 2-mana creature, we cannot play it. Unfortunately, we didn't hit much. We hit a 3-mana creature and lands. So for now, Abigail and Moon Shadow kind of just have control of this game. There's Sun Dappled Celebrant for our opponent. Gotta find some of our Blight enchantments, ideally. We could play Mentor immediately, because Mentor is 2 permanents to Convoke with, so... and pay that, and it's like I tapped those 2 lands for the assistance. Although... It's probably actually best at this point to drop a peddler and assistance during their turn so I can actually stop the menace damage. But now I'm going to start getting shredded in the sky. Yep, hit us in the sky. We go down to 11. They go up to 23. Chaos Spewer. 5-4, put a couple -1/-1 counters on the board. And they make their tree folk smaller. Let's Unexpected Assistance. Let's see what we find. Land Removal Regery. Okay. There's a Sig as well. Huge. At 11 life with no flying. I think I have to spiral the 2/3. Probably blight it away so they can't blight onto it for value later, too. And start poking them with our Sig. Because this just runs into Celebrant or Spewer and then makes Moonshadow bigger. This just dies to Spewer. Yeah, we only got one creature that can actually attack and it just trades. We have immediately found a game where our Springleaf Drum would actually do something. Tapping the Silvergale Peddler turn over turn for looting would be pretty good here. Alright, we're taking 1 damage a turn in the sky now. And they've got removal 4. Sig, but it gives us back a little 2/2 Merfolk, sure. Really sad that that exiled, because being able to trade off the Meander's Guide and pick up a creature from grave would be so huge. Celebrant is also pretty huge, though. So we can lead with Regery and then tap Peddler and Regery for value. I think I want to hold 4 mana up. So let's do it like this. Perfect. Find a 4 mana card. 4 mana is the most expensive card we could draw that doesn't have Convoke at this point, which is why I wanted to hold 4 on that cast. Creature card with mana value 3 or less. Yep. And it's in exile, so Guide doesn't do anything but trade on attacks. But at this point, we're starting to get stuff out of the way. But every time we get something out of the way, the moon shadow gets bigger. But definitely next turn. I mean, now that we're attacking with multiple 5/4s here, a drawn discard off of Peddler, I think we're reaching flunge status. Yeah, Distractor gives something -3/-0. Okay, so make that a 2/4. Make all of their creatures individually 3 or less power. They could still double block to kill Peddler if they let other stuff through. But I really want to get this Peddler attack off for another draw. And then I can Meander's Guide it back later if I don't send in the Meander's Guide now. Beautiful. We find a chunky flyer. Theoretically stopping Abigail dead in her tracks. Go for a kill on the Distractor. But not on the Peddler, playing around the Meander's Guide ability. Good stuff. Well played from opponent. Here's a Shore Lurker, though. Fantastic Peddler draw, and we surveil that land into the graveyard. And untap the 5/4 body. There's a 2/2 for our opponent. And a land. Okay. Despite... Oh, wow. We top deck Deep Channel Duelist copy 2, and there's the concession from our opponents. I was about to say, despite how big that Moon Shadow is gonna get, we are quickly turning this game around. And before I could get the words out of my mouth, we turned the game around immediately with a second Deep Channel Duelist off the top. That is 3-0 off this incredible Merfolk deck. Great start to the format. No matter where things go from here, at least a 50-50 record. Here we are on the play. With a turn 3 Rhymekin Recluse, should we draw any land? We have Recluse and Peddler. We have 2 draw steps to hit a land. There's 15 lands in our 33 cards. So we're a tiny bit more likely to not draw land than to draw land within 2 draw steps. No, we're slightly more likely to draw the land because it's like a 40... Let me just check the tracker. It's a 45% chance each draw step. So we'd have to fail 2 45% chances in a row to not have the land on turn 3. So it's probably like a 66% chance of hitting land by 3. I'm going to take those odds. Because every turn we don't draw land, the odds get more and more in our favor. So the odds of not hitting one by like turn 4 are really low. Perfect. Right on time. Let's lead with Peddler. Peddler plays really well with Meander's Guide, which is interesting. What if I lead with the Guide? Attack tapping Peddler, discarding Recluse. That's interesting. I think I just need a 3 toughness creature, though, against a 2/2. Like, these cards are all going to play really well together once they're all out, but for now, we just slow them down and actually stop the blocks. I don't really want to bounce just a 2/2, though, especially with a creature that would end up trading into it once it comes back. And I'm super happy to see Blightrot spent on that and not Meander's Guide. If they don't have additional removal to kill the Guide will be our solution to bring that back. Although we do need to find another Merfolk. So should I still just lead Recluse here? I'm gonna lead with the Guide. Not sure whether or not it's going to trigger next turn. Obviously, if I top deck any Merfolk, then we'll be able to attack, tap the Guide, and do the thing. Your tapped creatures are indestructible, and it's a 3-mana 3/4. Geez. Okay. Well, let's bounce that and pretend that we have a Merfolk on board and be sad that we don't. Because that means no reanimation off the guide. Keep out the guide, fair enough. I'm actually pretty okay with that considering we don't have any more Merfolk for it. We can't trade on blocks because they have indestructible. Well, we just drew one of the best Merfolk here. Awkward. This card is really rough. Okay, it doesn't give itself indestructible, thank goodness. Okay. It's like mildly less bad than I thought it was. But the fact that I couldn't even like untap first strike block would be awful, but I could untap first strike block it, just not any of their other creatures. So I'm just setting up to try to get the kill on Water Shaper if they don't have instant speed removal here. If they do, they 2-for-1 us, but we got a 3-for-1 card draw spell here. We got to do what we can to try to kill that Water Shaper. If we get 2-for-1, it's a little rough, but again, we have a draw 3 coming up, so it's not the end of the world. Fair enough. We had to try, because we are not winning if that stays on board. Alright, and this will blank all their attacks now. Yeah, Celebrant's going to be awesome here if they don't have more removal. This just blanks all their attacks and just keeps shredding them. Oh, Abigail again. Abigail's just a freakish card. 3/3 flying for a strike lifelink. Here we go. Indestructible on attacks too. I mean, we send in the Celebrant, we just hold up all our mana, but just get Abigailed. If I tap my whole board for unexpected assistance, I have the 2 mana up for the passivism I could use on the Doomguard, but then I'd only have 1 blocker up. I'd have a single 2/2 blocker up, pacifying that. My 2/2 blocker can't block or kill anything. And then I just still basically die on the crackback, so I don't think I can unexpected assistance right now. I think we just do it without tapping blockers. No relevant instance to draw, so just take it. Just a ground blocker. And there's a flying blocker, which I don't think is enough. Yeah, no, if they just attack all, we're dead still. Not to mention the Water Shaper thing makes it like, even if I block and spend the combat trick, it's got indestructible. Yeah, Water Shaper Abigail was a really good combo. Oh, I guess this loses all of its other abilities, so it doesn't actually gain indestructible. But we're still dead to Menace. Yep. Alright. Strong, rares are strong, and we find our first loss here. That is 3-1, heading into game number 5. This is an awful opening hand. We will mulligan down to 6. Keep this one, which is much better. Ditch the 7 drop. Lead with the Mentor, then play Deep Channel Duelist afterward, likely. Again, if your first main phase, you may Blight one and get a treasure. That's good mana. Cool. Behold the Duelist, because that's the most likely play next turn. And this could also potentially get them to a board where they like attack with everything and don't hold up a blocker anyway, because Duelist is going to beef our stuff up. And then we just play the Sig and draw the card instead once they don't have blockers. Although it's unlikely, because Scrounger attacks so poorly here anyway. Oh yeah, there's just a bunch of cheap goblins. Okay, so... we could still Sig, just have the unblockable creature soon. No, I'm just gonna go Duelist. I'll curve into the Shore Lurker, and then after Shore Lurker, play the Sig. I think we actually get to attack here. Some Blight Goblin synergy stuff going on. Blow up the Merfolk Lord. They're down to only 2 cards in hand, but Gristle Glutton can make sure those are the best cards possible. I'm still not super worried. Yeah, Boggart's really good against the Mentor. Okay, still leading into that Shore Lurker into Sig turn. Ditch the 4th Plains and pass. More Gristle Glutton digging. And find the nameless inversion for the Shore Lurker. Gross. Go to 16. Peddler and Unexpected Assistance for big draw. That'll be our own version of Gristle Glutton. Boggart Mischief is a really scary card in the Goblin decks. We lose a life every time they lose a Goblin. And they gain a life as well. I have to get rid of this Boggart at some point. Do I let it kill both the Mentor cards at this rate? I really don't think we let it kill the Peddler. I don't think any of their creatures are quite worth spiraling over keeping a Sig. Block with a 2/1 and a 1/1 on the Peddler. I think think we just chill. Chump attack with Meander's Guide, tapping Peddler next turn. Blow up the Sig, and then also draw a card. Pretty good. Draw a Chaos Spewer, yep. That's a great 2-for-1 removal spell. It's not even just draw a card, it's draw the best in the top X, where X is whatever you spent. Or X is the power of the creature you killed? Interesting. Either way, good card. Can make Meander's Guide a 4/3. They block with their 2/1 and 1/1 and have no more power left on their board. If I blight it right now, they can respond by drawing and discarding and blighting onto it anyway, so either way they get one more blight onto it. Come on, one of our 3 combat tricks. Oh my god. Magical Christmas Land. This thing's gonna be a blowout. I don't know why it auto-tapped double white. I should have manually tapped there. That's on me. Should have manually tapped, then I could go land for turn and exile that, but since I didn't and I won't have the white, they get to do some blighting here. Feed the Flames Meander's Guide. You hate to see it. We still get to do Peddler draws. Because they just don't have good enough blocks. We've both dug through a lot of lands this game. I'm gonna exile that now, so if they draw any of the big blight stuff, they can't do it. Sack the Glutton, discard a card, draw a card. Okay, they've dug through astronomically more lands than me, I think. Oh wait, no, they only discarded 3 lands this game. I lied. Sourbread Auntie is great with Boggart Mischief on the board. Holy lands. They obviously kill the Peddler here with a 2/1 and a 1/1, but lord do I need to get through this land clump. That's rough. Prankster putting in work here. That is not a land. Okay, that is also not a land. surprised they played that land out instead of saving it for Glutton a turn after. Drop Duelist's Flunge. Okay, they've got one more turn to get out of this. Another land, Heirloom Auntie. 3 blocks is not enough to survive. Because their death triggers go on the stack after our opponent has already taken lethal damage. Oh, the first strike trigger, but still. Still lethal. Okay. That was kind of just a top deck war. Let's see who draws the best. Going back and forth there. Who gets through the land clumps first? And luckily, we had quite a clump, but we found double Duelist, which was an absurd way to finish that off for us. That Boggart Mischief, really a scary card. When you get into those board stall top deck wars like that, where it's like every time I'm trading or they're chumping, they're draining at me, they're picking at me. So cool little goblin deck there, but luckily the Merfolk too strong with double Duelist. Such incredible cards there. All right. That is 4-1, a positive record out of the draft, no matter where things go from here. All right, here we are on the draw for this next game of Magic. We can lead with the Encumbered Reejerey to start getting counters off of it. What on earth is that? 1 mana tap, tap another untapped creature, tap creature opponent controls. Oh, that'd be really sweet in this deck. Sadness on the stack. Cool card that we don't get to play with. Merfolk mirror match most likely then, and there is the blue source. And there's their own Encumbered Reejerey, which we would really like to trade into if possible. They could play a cheap enough Merfolk and then tap that. They can actually just keep tapping the Reejerey. Wow, yeah, this Wanderbrine Trapper is a real problem for us. We don't have any of our removal in hand, so what do we even do? Probably supposed to just run out our own Reejerey, because at least every time they tap our Reejerey, it gets bigger as well. Sure, Glamourmite the Reejerey and buff it. Yay, big Reejerey. That does mean our Reejereys will be growing at the same rate here, which is kind of sick. We can play the Sig to draw a card. But I'm taking a lot on the crackback doing that. I guess Marrow's slightly better blocks have a 2/3 up on blocks that I would be okay with dying, and it also draws a card when I play it, and then I could double spell 2/2 drops like Duelist plus Sig the turn after if I hit a land with Marrow. That feels right. I think we have to hit the land here. Set up for that double spell next turn. Take 6. Figure of Fable. This is an unbeatable rare. If it gets to the 7-8 stat line, we know from first-hand experience from the amount of times we have killed people with Figure Fables. That's gonna be a problem. But we do need to focus on the immediate issues. I mean, there's really no focusing on the immediate issues when we don't have removal. It's just flunge on and hope for the best. Wanderbind Trapper gets to tap one of these. Whatever I choose with Sig just gets tapped anyway. Which is a shame, but we still might as well play the Sig. Oh, they don't actually tap. Interesting. This might get the draw here. And they tap Reedry in the end step. Tap somebody else during our turn. We really have no option but to choose Marrow there, because if I choose Reedry, then they can just respond by choosing to tap Sig, and then they untap and then tap Duelist and have no blockers up. So we just have to try to untap the only currently tapped creature. I feel like play draw is going to be massive in the encumbered Reedry matchups, the Reedry versus Reedry games. Like, whoever's ball gets rolling first is going to get a lot of damage here, and unfortunately this game, that was not us. Yeah, I mean, it's just a monumentally bad position. I figure Fable turns into a 3-4 this turn. They're at 13. Crack back for 5. No, I have to lose so many creatures here. There's not going to be any kind of counterattack lethal to try for. There's really no way to kill multiple creatures here without losing our whole board, because Duelist is going to like die trading into a Trapper or something, which makes these small enough that they both die trading into Reedry, and then we take 5. It's probably the best we have. We lose all of it to kill the 2 non-figure creatures. I can't kill Reedry and figure. I can only kill one or the other, and I have to at least chump Reedry to not die. Yeah, it's just... I mean, this is just game. They just had a great curve out on us on the play. Oh, it turned into a 4-5? Jeez, it's even bigger than I thought it was. I thought it turned into a 3-4. Yikes, okay. 1 life it is then. I don't have the mana to do that and anything else, but it's the only way that I don't die this turn. And they just flash in a Glamourmite and kill me with it. So it doesn't really actually help. Oh, that's so disappointing. Yeah, I mean, they don't have the mana to immediately recast Glamourmite, but they just flash it in during our next end step and then untap and kill us with it. I guess if we draw a removal spell and they flash it in pre-combat to tap Reedry, that's how we stick around. So we hope to draw into one of our enchantment removal spells. Oh, or they just play a sorcery speed creature and then we draw removal, but we didn't draw removal. Dang. Triple pacifism is not enough. They're hiding. Man, yeah, I feel like them choosing to go for the sorcery speed creature into the flash creature did genuinely make it that, so that if we did draw pacifism, we'd actually win, because we pacify that, attack all. They chump, take 4. We could potentially get the 2-turn kill if we'd hit pacifism here. Bonus levels of disappointing. All right. They got us a great curve out on the play, and that is going to be 4-2 heading into game 7. All right, here we are on the play for game 7. Let's go. Feels good to be on the play. Let's curve them out. Duelist into Recluse into Shore Lurker should we hit our lands. And here we go. Deep Channel Duelist. Ready to go. Playing against a blue deck. Blue-red it is. Kind of elemental color pair. The Wicker Maw really good at getting vivid, giving them more colors on the board for the cards that care about the number of colors you have on board. Well, I was going to Recluse that, but if I can Marrow and have a 3/4 that can attack into it and also make sure I hit all my land drops, that's probably slightly better. Save the Recluse for something else. But I do think that that's a perfectly reasonable target for Rhymekin Recluse, just to mess with their mana a bit. Okay. Sig and Reflexes or just a Shore Lurker? Kind of like Sig Reflexes here. Keep drawing cards if I can. Let me draw a card, please. I'm not going to spend a combat trick to eat the Wicker Maw unless they try to spend a combat trick to kill Duelist. It's one of those scenarios where you just really don't want to be the first to blink. To where if they do some kind of instant that shoots Duelist for 2 in response to me trying to untap it and buff it, it's very bad for me. And bouncing off each other is perfectly fine, so I'm just going to let that happen. I suppose the instant speed red removal in this set is 3 damage, I think. 6 unblockable damage, let's go. Well, they could chump with Wicker Maw, I guess, technically. So not completely. It says protection from all colors, but artifact creatures are colorless. Most artifact creatures are colorless. There are colored artifact creatures nowadays. We just curve out, as you do. There's Shore Lurker, Surveil 1. I don't really need a third Reflexes. All in the same hand. Oh, I can't untap the Marrow because it has protection from blue and white right now. That's pretty funny. Card draw half a Sig. Let's say if Sig hits them, we draw a card. Sig is the most likely to hit them, as it is completely unblockable. Hold up double combat trick and send in the squad for 7 damage they can't stop. In theory. They could have red burn spells here, but that's what the tricks are for, potentially. Okay, Mega Bomb rare. We Reflexes the Duelist to save our whole board. Well, to save Duelist and Sig. Okay. Yeah, that would have been a nightmare without the trick. So I'm very happy to have the trick there, because that would have killed Duelist and Sig, and then an easy trade into Marrow. Well, not even a trade, it would have been a free kill on Marrow. So it would have killed Duelist, Marrow, and Sig without costing them any of their creatures. Then they just take the 3 in the sky at that point. Yep. Really good work from Riverguard's reflexes. And we are now 5-2, not only a positive record no matter what, but in the money no matter what. We are getting all of our gems back and then some. Here we are for game number 8 on the draw, sadly. We got a Regery to start us out, though. And then Spiral to try to get rid of their blocker. Ideally, they will only have like 1 blocker up by the time we get that first Regery attack. So we can go Spiral, boom, it's a 3-2. And then if it's trading up into a 3-3 or a 4-3, that's fine for the turn after that. So I think Regery and Spiral in here is enough to not mulligan, even though it's only really 1 early play. Plus, if it does get walled off later, 1 Convoke spell for it is good. This is a really reasonable start, I think. Obviously, Regery, one of these cards that kind of shows off that play-draw differential, where it is absolutely incredible on the play, and just like solid on the draw. So we're sad we're on the draw, but you can't control that, so it's still a good card. It's still a solid hand, especially now with the reflexes to back it up as well. Should they not have the cheap removal, and it looks like another blue-red deck. Generally speaking, in Elemental's strategy is what you're going to see. There's the super high power Stompling to go for some blocks on that. Would I rather spend the combat trick or the Spiral first? I think I'd rather spend the combat trick because that's a hybrid mana card, so it's vivid. It's multiple colors on their board to help out any of their cards that care about the number of colors they have on board. So actually fully removing it from the board instead of just pacifying it does seem like a big deal. And there's also the chance that we just get our damage in for free, which is pretty great. But if I pacify, obviously I have to do that pre-combat. Tweeze the Duelist. Sure thing. Means Regery is free to stay. Second white source would be huge. Unfortunately, it is not a second white source. Now that I've got double reflexes, obviously, we're on reflexes over Spiral. It'd be really weird if they didn't block here after choosing not to attack, yeah. Pestered Wellguard. That I would love to get off the board, but I don't have double white, so I can't Spiral and activate Spiral. I can attack for 5, or I can play a Celebrant. Or I can play a Solitude. There's probably not a ton of other ways to tap it than just attacking with it. I think I'm going to play Celebrant here, and they shouldn't be able to attack into the Celebrant well. But we could also Spiral, and they shouldn't be able to attack and get the trigger. Oh, right, they can Convoke. Yeah, no, they're probably going to Convoke here. In which case, we really don't have any way to stop them from Convoking. Okay. So no matter what, they would have gotten a Wellguard tap there, and I don't think the 3 damage is particularly worrisome. Our lack of white is really killing us right now. Because again, I can Spiral it, and they can still just Convoke it next turn regardless. If they have a Convoke spell. And it'll be really bad if they have a bounce spell to put it back in their hand. But I think it's better than playing Spikeling, so we'll just set that up. Alright, this game's gonna start going real slow. Just get that off the board. Okay. Gross. Counter all spells and abilities your opponent control, unblockable, and get a 1/1 fairy. Wow. That's probably the only card in the whole set that can counter abilities. Oh, that's horrendous. Now Reedry just trades into Wellguard too. Hobble Hurler's a sick one. I am surprised and very happy they didn't attack with Wellguard. I think I'm going to run out as many creatures as possible before I play Wanderwine Farewell. So that I can get like a big swing and do it in the same turn. Well, never mind. They have their own. Well, here we are. We're gonna die to these fairies. Recluse is a good one. I could permanently kill one of the fairies. But the hurler costing them 5 to get back out, I think is well worth the bounce. Cinder and the guard thing. Discard a card, draw a card. Nope, they draw a land, so they play the hurler back with the cinder. Sig. Hurler can't give itself flying, but it could give the cinder flying. 4, 5, 6, and then give a Merfolk flying. That's actually 8. So we're just dead in the sky on the crackback if we don't kill Cinder or Hurler here. So we either have to dig with assistance and hope to hit one of the other 2 pacifisms, or we have to get them to block and then reflexes in the right place. If Hurler blocks Spikeling, they can get through reflexes, but every other block is good. Could just not attack with Spikeling, but I don't think ground blockers really matter here. We gotta do what we can, put as much pressure on them as we can. and hope we kill Cinder or Hurler. Astronomical. This is a pivotal moment, depending on what's in their hand, that we killed that Hurler. Okay. To tap all of my creatures to cast Assistance and hold 2 mana up, so I'm just going to wait on it. Because now ground blockers do matter, because they're not sending 2 of their creatures in the sky to kill me. Ew. I'm the only one who's allowed to have Rhymekin Recluses. The card's too strong for you. Go for 7 unblockable damage next turn with Sig and Rejury. Not nothing. And I guess that's what we're doing. Sig could get us there. Being a gross rare. Land is what we see on Unexpected Assistance, but we have found our second planes, and our third, and our fourth. Because I don't get the protection next turn, they might actually slightly outrace us here, because we only get 1 attack next turn through, guaranteed, and not both of them. They have to have some other way to add damage to their board. It can't, like, we do outrace these 2 fairy tokens, but they have like 1 burn spell and they'll outrace us. Oh, sweet Jesus, what on earth is that? Tap a creature and put a stun counter on it. So the Celebrant. They going for lethal like now instead of trying to hold off the Sig. They get a 3rd flyer, but then that still next turn is another 3 damage, which doesn't quite kill us. Probably getting combat tricked here if that thing is sending in, but I guess we'll find out. Nope, we get rid of it. Another land. Sweet Lord. Please. They block everything that isn't Sig. Maybe they have removal for Sig and the stun for Celebrant. What happens whenever it becomes tapped too? So I just lose to that if I can't hit a pacifism. You still got 2 more though. That's not enough. It's not enough, Duelist. Oh, what an astronomically close final game here. I guess if we don't die next turn, we do still have outs. Oh. Yeah, I mean, play it. I think that might be dead, though. No, Recluse doesn't add to their damage. I mean, it bounces Sig again, so I don't have an unblockable attack. Like, obviously they punted that, but it still stops us from killing them next turn, so... Champions already does stop that. They're at 3 life. With 3 blockers up, I need 2 creatures to hit them. If I chump the 4/6 with a 2/2, I have 4 attackers. I need 2 of them to hit them. I have outs if I hit pacifism. Yeah, we certainly don't kill that, because if we... I guess I just exile the token. So if we kill it, they don't get anything back, but if we kill it, we're losing multiple of our creatures. That's not any pacifisms, so we die. Actually, we had a lot of outs. It wasn't even just pacifism. Also, our reflexes, our combat trick would have done it, so we had at least 3 outs here. The unexpected assistance to try to draw into them. Oh, it's so disappointing. Really close final game, but they're going to end it at 1 life. Yeah, doesn't give any kind of unblockability. This doesn't add anything to the board. We have no blocks for the flying, no life gain. Man. If we got a single extra point of damage, we would win this. It's probably winnable then. Guess I get 1 last draw step, but there's nothing in the deck that'll get there. Well, if they do that, then there actually is. A Wanderwine Distractor is not one of them, because I can't tap it. Wow. Insane game of Magic. I think we should have won that game, because we just needed 1 more point of damage. There's almost certainly somewhere we could have gotten that in. It's a very disappointing end to this run, but it's still a positive record, still a 5-3 run. I thought this deck was excellent, excellent stuff here. But just not quite enough for the 7 win. If we played perfectly, it probably would have 7 win, because if we played perfectly this game, this would have been the 6th win. We would have been 6-2 at worst. And then if either of our first 2 losses were winnable at any point with different lines, then that would be the 7 wins right there. But even if not, 6-2 heading into a final battle, I would give this deck pretty good odds there. So I think 5-3 is a little on the lower end for it. I'm very, very happy with this deck. I don't think I drafted like super well or anything. We just were in a draft pod where Merfolk was super open, kind of on rails there. But I do think that this is just an incredibly powerful deck. Very happy with the River Guard's reflexes in this kind of strategy, though. That I will say, it's a pretty big overperformer. I think that's awesome in the Merfolk deck. It's really good with like the turn 2 Redrees and stuff. Spiral into Solitude was incredible in here. We had multiple games where we only drew like 1 of our 3 spirals, and like the only way to win would be drawing another one, like that game. So kind of wish I had like 5 Spiral into Solitudes. I would just play Infinite at this point with how that played in this deck. That was another card I liked a lot that I wish we drew it more often, but it was just not in the cards for us today. Yeah, super, super solid deck. It's not even like particularly rare heavy. It's got 1 Sig, and the rest of it is just really good uncommons like Eclipsed Marrow and Deep Channel Duelist. And it's still just a really, really strong strategy when it's open to just push in a lot of damage and get those wins for a 5-3 run. Certainly could have been 6-2. Probably could have been a 7 winner, but hey, I'll take what I can get starting off the format with a 5-3 winning run in the money for our first ranked draft of Lorwyn Eclipsed. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and are interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. And other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.